Hi, it's Jon Binnie here. I'm your spiritual psychic mentor here in Scotland, and I'm here today focusing on answering your questions. So you've been busy posting questions in through my website, and I'll make sure the link is included below. The idea is today that you can see I'm sat down. I'm all professional because I've got your questions ready and I'm going to get through as many as I can over the next hour, maybe a little longer than an hour. Okay, so let's go ahead and create safe spaces because safe spaces are what we need to bring in safe messages and answers to your questions. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath in through the nose and breathe out what no longer serves our highest good, nice and loud. And breathe in through the nose, nice and deep. And breathe out any fear, shame, anxiety, or pain, nice and loud. And breathe in through the nose, nice and deep. And breathe out any remaining low vibration energy or emotion that no longer serves you, nice and loud. And continue to breathe deeply and calmly as it feels right for you. Focus your attention now on the very center of your heart, where your golden divine spark of your soul enters your human form. And from the center of your heart, extend a cord of light up through the top of your head. Reach up into the sky and up into the stars. Reach all the way up through the highest frequencies and dimensions of this universe until you reach the highest dimension of the source of love. And there, connect in your light cord into the highest dimension of source. Remain connected into source and extend your light cord down to the stars and sky, back down to the top of your head and into your heart once more. And now, together with light of source above and your own light, extend a golden cord of light down from the center of your heart, down through the roots of your spine and deep into the earth. And reach all the way down through the layers of the planet until you reach the very core of Mother Earth. And there, connect in your light cord into Mother Gaia's crystalline heart. And we send Mother Gaia so much love at this time. Allow her to send her love back. Remain connected into Gaia's heart and extend your light cord back up through the layers of the planet, up through the root of your spine and into your heart once more. And now, together with light of source above, Mother Gaia below in your own light, expand out a golden bubble of protective light to surround you about 2 meters out to each side, above and below, in front and behind you. And set the intention that only energies and entities with your permission, your highest good love and compassion can see you, access you, or exist within this space or within you, and that all other energies and entities must leave immediately. Into your safe space, invite in your spirit guides, your higher self, Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, Source, and Gaia. Ask at this time for their guidance, clearing, healing, protection, and assistance with the integration of today's messages. And as you allow your heart now to gently soften and open, your mind to relax and declutter, and your whole body to relax, I create a safe space using source love energy from the highest dimension of source above to surround all of us at this time in a golden protective bubble with the intention only energies and entities with my permission and the highest good love and compassion of all can see us, access us, or exist within this space or within us, and that all other energies and entities must leave immediately. Into this safe space, I invite in my spirit guides, my higher self, Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, Source and Gaia, Sol and Luna, and also the Galactic Federation members through which my spirit guides work with. And I set the intention we're here today to answer your questions as best we can, to get through the right balance of question-answer depth, as well as getting through the right volume as we can. As many as we reasonably can today through your questions. Okay, well, welcome. let us get started. I have your questions here in my computer, so I'm going to just work my way up from the bottom, and let's see how many we get through. So this is from Cheryl, going back to August last year. So hopefully we'll catch up through the year. Thank you, Cheryl. It says, I live in a city at the base of Sangria de Cristo Mountains. Apologies for the pronunciation. At one point, there was a high-pitched hum increasing to intensity that eventually woke you up at 3 every morning and then disappeared before sunrise. This went on for 2 years, more or less. It was uncomfortable, sometimes almost excruciating, because it would go on continuously for hours. At that time, it seemed to be coming from inside the mountains. I wondered if something was being constructed or deconstructed in there. We have a lot of extraterrestrial activity in this area and miles of unoccupied, privately owned land. We have also a fair amount of human trafficking because we share a border with Mexico. Can you tell me what is making the noise? Is there a base of some kind? Is there anything that going on that puts the land at risk? Here, more than anywhere else I have been, the land belongs to Gaia, and her presence is perceived consciously here. Is something heavy being carried here? Wow, thank you. Thank you for your question, Cheryl. Okay, and I'm going to just mark that as complete so I don't repeat it. And let me just ask Mother Gaia. Mother Gaia says there was energy transference. This is harvesting of energy from the 4th dimension into the 3rd. She's showing me the 3 a.m. She says this is when the veil is at the thinnest. Okay, so she's saying there's energy transference between the 3rd and 4th dimensions. The 4th dimensions feel more extraterrestrial, or they could be terrestrial, but of beings that are not non-human beings. And it felt like this is a military. The military were involved, and they were shifting energy between 3rd and 4th. So there was. In part, they were using this energy to, it feels like, for propulsion of, like, experimenting with propulsion of craft that can shift between the 3rd and 4th dimension. And they're in the relatively early stages where what they're doing is trying to figure out how to power a 4th dimensional vehicle from the 3rd dimension and vice versa. Because it's interesting, because this kind of 0 point energy, the abundance of energy in the universe exists in all dimensions. It's just they hadn't figured out, they'd figured out 3rd dimension 0 point energy, and that's where they bring in energy from around them to fuel a craft. And then there was, it was a 4th dimension they hadn't figured out how to do yet. Mother Gaia says, don't worry, it doesn't affect the land really. She just said that there was also aspects of the dark matrix, and it feels like she's showing me that some of these craft, and the purpose of powering up in one dimension and transferring between another was also to work on the destruction or interference with the dark matrix. So it felt in my mind, in Jon's logical mind, if to me, I think what Mother Gaia is trying to tell me or tell us is that the military were charging up weapons in the 3rd dimension and then firing them into the 4th dimension to destroy some of the dark matrix, which is lovely, right? Sometimes we just kind of project onto the military and say, everything you do must be bad, right? And that can't be true, like, for every single military member of staff around the world. But yeah, Cheryl, it does feel quite safe. The mother guy was just saying that it felt like that they were doing it in the mountains because it creates such a massive distortion in the energy and fields and reality, like creates portals in reality. So that's why they do it inside the mountains, because it was no one could have. It was very, very hard, and although you certainly received it, it's very hard for the adversaries to detect those energy surges. That's why they do it in mountains. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Mother Guy. Okay, the next question is from M. Fred. I live in the far north and depend on electricity for heat. Will there be a steady source of power for all this winter? Well, we're still in winter, so thank you. Let me ask. I'm just opening the question up across to Gaia and then also to Sol and the other beings. So my spirit guide Maya and spirit guide Marita, my guides, are saying that this was their very first answer, a diverse range of fuel sources is advisable. And this is to help you traverse through any disruptions, including continued solar activity. For often quite short periods. So, for example, being clear, if your electricity supply was interrupted, do you have a generator, like a diesel generator? The other thing is having, some sort of propane was another one I was shown. And then I was shown another one, which was like body heat. We do generate, what is it? 200, 300, 400 watts of heat ourselves. So between yourself and Fred, and if you have any pets, loved ones, having you together in the same room and making sure you have lots of insulation, duvets, blankets, lots of layers, and lots of layers for your clothing. This felt it would really. You don't need to. It's not an urgent feeling to like go and prepare now. It's not that, right? It's a feeling of just being aware of the sorts of things that you have at your disposal and making sure they're easy to get to, especially if you end up in a situation of losing power at night. Do you have a torch? You can then go and access your alternative heat supply. It doesn't feel elongated. And the time frame that I was shown was over the next 4 weeks in particular. Now I know that many are in the depths of snowstorms just now. I'm not really sure where you are in the world, but far north feels cold. So yeah, sending warm love to yourself, and you may enjoy yesterday's video that I created. That may also help as well. So thank you for your question. Okay, the next question is from Kolga100. Thank you for your question, and an interesting crackling noise on my mic sometimes comes up. So Kolga100 says, there are two beautiful mountains where I live here in the west of Ireland. Nice. One looks like a table mountain, Ben Bulben, and the other across the bay from it is called Knocknarea or Knocknaria. That's right. Both have many mystical stories associated with them. Can Gaia tell us what function these mountains are carrying from Mother Earth? I have a deep love for both and believe they are very important. Thank you. Wonderful. Thanks for your question. I'll just get some water. So let's ask. And I just want to keep those Ben Bulben and Knocknaria. Okay, so Mother Gaia says long ago when there was a super mountain range that ran between, it's like Scotland, Ireland, across the Atlantic and over to North America. Much of that's under the Atlantic now. However, the purpose of those mountains, Ben Bulben and Knocknaria, are, first of all, I was shown navigation. So I was shown lines drawn across from those mountains, including the one that's like a table mountain from there. It's like directly across what is now separate continents across to North America. And it feels like, to begin with, I thought it was a kind of like a way of, you could stand on one mountain and then you would have like a kind of a huge, like beyond your line of physical sight, you'd be able to navigate from those mountains more easily to the other mountains. And this goes back so far, like this goes back millions of years. I was thinking, why, who would be using it? Like, who lived on Earth then? And Mother Gaia is saying, John, that was their navigation points for portals. So this aspect of many mystical stories associated with them is that she's saying, and this really, really fascinates me, because I often ask myself, how do Sasquatch, for example, and cryptids, or what we call cryptids, how do they jump from space to space? How do they jump from continent to continent? Do they travel in the fourth dimension, for example, between different areas or different portals across different areas of the planet? And Mother Gaia says yes, and this is those connections. This is one of those. It's not the only, but it's one of those connections. So they, in simple terms, to answer your question, Golga 100, yes, they are portals, and they allow portals for beings to be able to travel to different places around the universe. Well, different places around the universe, different places around the planet, including, and it feels like over to the northeast of the US. Wonderful. Wow, thank you. That's really exciting. And yeah, let us know in the comments, Colga 100, if what sort of stories resonate with you. I know I could just Google some of these things, but I feel that there's nothing better than asking people that are actually connected to it. Okay, the next question is Susan in STEM, and it says, I'd put this in a comment for the 11th of August, and it was the Dark Matrix show. Hi, John. I'm only 14 minutes in, so this may be covered, but for a planet that's supposed to be a free will planet, how was this omnipresent, embedded dark force allowed to happen in the first place, or allowed to remain? So sure there were free will agreements made with these forces, but then a free will planet ends up with such an undercurrent of darkness and for countless generations, it's hard not to feel robbed. Was this a soul contract or all of us entered that we knew coming here would have this extra negativity layer we had to deal with, successfully live under or not successfully, or question mark, I feel like it's not really free will if the scales are so tilted in one direction. I know this grr moment, if you cover this in a video, it says ignore this grr moment. If you cover this in a video, I can say I'm doing my part with light work, but geez. Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you for bearing with me as I clumsily read out your comment, your question. So thank you for that. Let me go ahead and ask all the beautiful beings that I've invited in by name. So my spirit guide, Emin shall step forwards. So Emin Chal, and this is Emin Chal's opinion. He wants to make it clear it's his opinion. He's not God or source, right? He says, it is true that humans, just like you and I, that our souls had awareness of the dark matrix and the control and dominance of darkness pushed upon the beings of Earth. Okay. So that's the first thing. However, it does not relinquish our free will. And to this extent, we have many of us, and I feel like this was included in the question, the energy of the question. Many of us have come here to fight that. And so Emenchel is saying, and I'm feeling this energy from Source as well, this message from Source is that you and I, and I mean you the viewer, we are here as part of karma of this universe to set this planet free. And that this has gone on for too long. Now and then Emenchel's showing me this the most difficult part is the non-obvious part, and this is the bit in between. So all those times that between ourselves and our fellow humans around the world that we implicitly agree to just kind of go with the kind of status quo and just allow this dark matrix ourselves to be controlled, then for as long as that happens, we will continue to suffer to some degree this control placed upon humanity. And Emenchel says this is a prison a prison of control and fear that humanity has wrapped itself into and under, and the key to releasing ourselves from the prison is ourselves, is our hearts. And the key's on the inside in this metaphor of prison, although it doesn't feel like a metaphor, that we each have a key to unlock the door. And Emenchel says it's everything. It's who you vote for. It's do you vote, do you participate? Do you agree with having systems and governments and countries and all these foundational systems of control, including money, and greed and inequality? Like, for as long as we collectively agree to those in any shape or form, we're agreeing to this control. We're giving up that right of free will. And so it's definitely a journey, right? And there's more. I always get this feeling when I talk about the dark matrix is that I feel a little bit alone in that concept. I'm not saying I invented it, right? It's just that the energy of it seems so alien to many people. Whenever I step into that, it's like this. It's not something we talk about much or that we acknowledge much. And so it's just one example of how there are actually many things in our lives that we haven't yet uncovered that are imprisoning us. So every opportunity we get, I definitely encourage us to question, ask why does that have to be there? Why do we have to have money? Why do we have to have big pharma? Why do we have to have military? Like, just why? And then at the same time, in our hearts, feel into a solution. What do we feel we want? Because it's you and I, right? It's you and I that are we're co-creating this new reality. How exciting. Thank you, Emenchel, and thank you for your question also. So this next one, and we're almost in December, so we're catching up. Jimmy L36942. Thank you, Jimmy. Hi, Jon. I always love to watch your channel, and I feel in my heart truth and so much compassion that you share. So thank you. Oh, thank you. The other month, I awoke to feeling a sense of utter happiness never before experienced in my life except for NDE. Yet cannot remember any dreams about it and why I felt like that. Additionally, the other week, I was sending Gaia love and asked for confirmation and felt uncontrollable rumbling and shaking through my body and could hear this rumble too. Could your guides and Gaia provide any insight into these events and the dream world in general. Thank you so much. Lots of love. Thank you, Jimmy. As this is a very personal experience, these personal experiences are best asked on the live streams that I do on Mondays and Thursdays with Vivienne. So just keep a lookout on the live stream. Or you can also go into, book me for one-to-one session. What I will do, because, this, in the event that this does help others, I'll try my best to answer your question. Just note that, I don't have access to in this session, I don't have access or permission to access your spirit guide, your higher self, your soul, all these things. And that would give so much more detail for you, Jimmy, but I can ask more generically from my guides and Mother Gaia. Okay. So there's a bit of conversation from both. So my spirit guide Maya says, lightly. So this is not known to be the truth, as we'd need to talk to you, your higher self, and your spirit guides, Jimmy. However, it is the opinion of my spirit guide Maya that you were lightly connecting with your spirit guides and feeling their love, like a very lucid, real dream that you're having, lightly in a higher dimension, fourth or fifth dimension, and that's what you woke up feeling this energy of. Personally, I also get feelings like that. I had that this morning. I'd asked to, just before I went to sleep, I'd asked to spend some time on a Galactic Federation ship, talking to my spirit guides about my life and business. And I had very lucid, very vivid dreams, and then woke up feeling very elated. So that was so lovely. And yeah, that feeling and just holding space and acknowledging your NDE, that must be a huge life-changing event. And I have a very close friend who has an experience in NDE, and we share so much about our experiences, and they describe like this like for like, themes of such powerful love energy, especially up towards the top of your heart. And let me ask Gaia, she wanted to talk about the rumbling. Yeah, okay, she says, yes, that was me. She says, for you, Jimmy, personally, she was helping. It's a vibration activation. I talk a lot about activations coming down from above, from our souls, our higher selves, from ascension waves. A Mother Gaia was helping you with a vibration. So she was sending up energy up through your root chakra and helping your body activate. And it feels like a lovely way of helping you connect more deeply into the earth, which is so lovely. I hope that helps you. Thank you, Jimmy, for your question. Okay. And the next one we have for Advance Evolve. Well, the question's from Advance Evolve. Hi, John. The number 44. Whoa, it's 344 or 1544 here. That's so cool. Look at that. The number 44 has been stalking me for a long time. Now it's ramping up even more. I see 144, 444, 44. That's in the whole number. Like, is that 144,444 or 144 million? And 4 so often. My question to you and your guides is, are these numbers meaningful in any way, or is my brain just looking for patterns now? Are there messages I'm supposed to decode somehow, or is it a little hello from the universe? I hear so many different things about angel numbers, but are they really as magical as we've been told? Thank you for all your wonderful content. I do enjoy listening to you daily. From Aileen. Yay, thank you so much. I love those numbers. Isn't that so cool that it's 344 or 1544 and it's now 1545 in 24-hour clock. Okay, let's ask for Advance Evolve. It's funny. My spirit guide Marita, she's like showing me like a tablet, like she has her little tablet in front of her with her mantis claws. And she's like tapping on her tablet and she's pretending to like punch in all the numbers. She's like going, and like typing in all the ones and the fours, and she's pretending to be your spirit guide and pretending to generate these numbers. So her joke is, yes, us spirit guides just make these numbers to kind of, to attract your attention and to get your minds, racing and to distract you in the moment. She's joking, however, those latter words, the energy of it feels very sincere. So let me just clarify what she's what she's actually trying to say. So my spirit guide Maya has stepped in. She's they've both been laughing together, and she says, so she just wanted to shift the energy a little bit. My spirit guide Maya says, yes, the numbers are they do have a kind of foundational meaning, and humans are picking up and have picked up on these meanings for some time. And she says, however, now, so for example, if you went on the internet and searched for spiritual meaning of 4 or spiritual meaning of 1-4 and all the 4s, etc., she says that humans have overgeneralized these meanings to be somehow specific to everyone. So almost like there's this feeling of like monopolizing the knowledge of the numbers. And so really the numbers are much more, she's describing as much more foundational. And then the interpretation, and I'd agree, I would suggest like everything's open to individual interpretation. She says the interpretation is key. So she says the 1-4, this number, she says, yes, it does relate to the meaning of, she says, open-hearted ones. So these are people, hopefully, with hearts like yours and mine that are opening up to the true, beautiful reality of this world and this universe, and no longer shrunk in fear. And she says, this number is she calls it a seed. It is a key that is a representation of the hearts of these people. She says almost like it's a frequency. She said it's not the actual number of people who go through opening hearts, because she says it is free will choices for each of us to open our hearts. So can you imagine getting to 144 million and all the other 4s, right? People, and suddenly like you want to open your heart, and then I don't know, source turns up and says, no, not you, because we're all done. Our quota's met. We've met 144 million, right? That's never going to happen. So there's always free will for people to open their hearts. And she says, okay, and then she says, when you witness the numbers, so this feeling that you're describing as being stalked by them, this feeling is so powerful. She says, stop. Just as Marita was joking, stop in that moment when you receive those numbers, just like I did. And when you see it, so when you see the number, say it out loud. So see it, say it, feel it. So place your hand on your heart and ask your heart, what am I feeling right now? How do I feel? What am I thinking about? Body, how do I feel? And you can also say that out loud. You might be excited. You might be worried about paying your bill. You might be worried about the threat of war. You might be excited about a new romance in your life. Whatever it is that's, you're feeling in your heart at that moment. Say that out loud. And then also thank it. So say, thank you so much. Thank you for that sign. Thank you for those numbers. And she says this creates a cycle. So what will happen is you're much more likely next time to receive more numbers. And it's interesting because I'm looking at the numbers 432, just like the 432 Hertz. They're like little notification items I have on my website that I'm reading these from. Wonderful. Thank you so much for your question. And I just keep checking in on my laptop to make sure that it's still recording. It's like, you better record these. Okay, next question we have from Cheryl. Cheryl? Cheryl? Cheryl. Um, okay, so Cheryl says, a number of years ago, I'd learned a planet very similar to Gaia was being adapted as an alternative Earth. Humans were destroying the animals living here at an alarming rate and with much unnecessary cruelty. Some of her wildlife had been rehomed there. My understanding was that human life would eventually be transferred there, though in much smaller numbers. I assume this place had been intended to preserve life forms existing at that time on our Gaia. I didn't know where this planet is, or even if it's in our solar system. So does it exist? And if so, where is it? I'd forgotten about it and caught a glimpse of it recently in a cloud memory of the Galactic Federation after I started asking them for intervention. This other version of Earth is sparsely populated and still extant. It's in their memory as also Earth or other Earth or even sometimes New Earth. It's confusing because you all say New Earth, Jon, meaning 5D Earth. Should we humans self-identify to the Galactic Federation as Gaian? My spirit guides say Gaian, though I'm unsure what the context is here. Do humans live on the other Earth, or do extraterrestrials live there with our animals, and do they treat them kindly? Are the animals a food source? Because those animals and humans, if they are humans, should have the chance to ascend to 5D like the rest of us. Thank you, Jon. Wow. Thank you, Thank you, Cheryl. Wow, let's go ahead and ask. Very interesting. Okay. So Mother Gaia is explaining her awareness, first of all. And she just introduced it by saying that she doesn't have full awareness of, she says, other Earth is a useful term. So Mother Gaia describes other Earth as a result of timeline engineering, interference with parallel timelines of Earth. And one of those Earths has been broken off. So this is Earth, and it is also a parallel timeline of Gaia herself, which is why she has awareness. Gaia says, and this feels like a whole. I was hoping this wouldn't come up, so I'll just very briefly introduce the concept. This could be a whole other show about Thea. So Thea was a sister of Gaia, and they collided at an early age and reformed from two planets into one. And so Gaia says that Thea is more of a dominant energy in this. So it is actually a lower vibration even than ours. I know it's sometimes hard to believe there's a lower vibration Earth than ours. It's a lower vibration timeline. And I'm just asking, will this exist forever? So, okay, so they're saying, they, as in Gaia, and then also my spirit guide, Marita, they're saying that the intention was to keep this other Earth as separate. And yes, using the same timeline engineering technology that's been developed, and this feels quite militaristic, that they had transferred, they managed to get some people and some animals across to it from our current vibration, our current timeline. However, they don't last that long because they're not compatible. A bit like you and I would probably struggle physically to go into the lower levels of hell for sustained periods of time because the vibration's real low down there. And trust me, I know. Gaia says that she's working with the Galactic Federation and other councils of light, including Gaia as well, to re-merge, so converge. Wow. And she's saying this now. She's saying it's happening now. The reconversions of the timelines are happening now. And she says this is the people that are responsible for this timeline engineering they didn't know because it wasn't originally their technology. It feels like a kind of ancient extraterrestrial technology that they'd taken over. Um, they didn't know that the inevitability of timelines is that they will always converge at some point, especially when there's big ascensions. So that's why it's not seen as like the new Earth. I think it was originally. They were hoping, oh, this could be a new place for us to live. Look, it's great. We can own this whole planet. And then they realized, oh, actually, the planet's like gradually converging with ours. Um, and I'm not sure we would totally notice those convergences, especially for those of us that are choosing higher vibrations in love. So I hope that helps. And yeah, it feels like that those timeline conversions are happening right now as we speak. Over the remaining days. And okay, and Guy is saying the full conversions is into about mid or the 17th of February. Wow, thank you. Wow, powerful questions. Thank you. Okay, next one is so in December, from Random Rachel. Thank you, Random Rachel. I appreciate you and all those who are acting as mentors and teachers during this shift period for humanity. And I assume more of you are being, I thought you were going to say trapped, being tapped to start teaching and supporting new waves of awakened humans. But I assume not all of us are destined to directly teach or coach. We are meant to live our lives and set an example. Those are two paths that my mind can imagine based on the world I've known. Please ask your guides and other entities to give us more inspiration, ideas, both evolving ourselves and supporting the collective evolution. Wow. Wow, Random Rachel. So cool. Thank you. So let me go ahead and ask. So this is a guide that I rarely speak with publicly, and if you don't know, I do have a reptilian guide, and I'd encourage you all to please be what's the word, diverse and inclusive in your and equal in your thoughts and feelings towards all races across the universe. And her name is Lucy, Luci. And so she's saying the first is, and the reason she stepped forwards is because she supported me. She's able to reach such low vibrations. She supported me before my awakening, and it was incredible. Out there I was age, 38, 39, 40, and I was aware, even when I was drinking alcohol at the end of an evening. I remember looking out of my window and just feeling the presence of a reptilian being pacing around outside my house as a protector, as a guard. And it just kept happening over and over. And I didn't know what psychic abilities felt like or anything like that. And so Lucy's been there. I know I talk of Maya being my first spirit guide. You could argue Lucy was really before then because Maya couldn't, my spirit guide Maya couldn't handle me when I was drunk. And I was drinking a lot of alcohol all the time. Okay. And she can also reach up to our current vibrations and higher. And so she says she has a lot of experience of humanity. And yeah, first she's saying, yes, Rachel, absolutely leading by example. And please never underestimate how powerful leading by example is. Not everyone needs to become, to have a website, do the spiritual healings, the one-to-ones, the training programs, the music, the podcasts, like all those things. You just don't need to do any of those things, right? That's not going to save Earth, right? And you don't ascend just because you've got larger number of YouTube subscribers, right? In fact, maybe it's an inverse thing. I have no idea, right? So time will tell. So she's saying that please never underestimate the power of leading by example. And it's leading by example in every single present moment. And it starts with you. She's showing me my heart. You right now in this present moment. Rachel and everyone else that's watching this video, in the now present moment, when you have a decision to make about your next decision, your next action, your next thought, as you consciously become aware of that, it is an opportunity to take a higher path, a path into love, a path into equality, compassion, and helping our whole world ascend. And I had some, for example, I had some challenges yesterday in my family. Like, I won't go into detail because it's not, and it wasn't anything like super serious. But as a parent, let's just say, I was in positions where I was continually triggered a lot by some experiences. And I remember as I'd let those feelings build up inside of me, I would then just take a breath, and I just like asked the question, like, what would love do? Like, could I take a moment to just see this? There was no urgency behind the challenges and the triggers I faced. Could I just take a moment, take a time out, and feel through the eyes of love, or see through the eyes of love? And it's those sorts of practices, like, constantly, right? Even in all the things that have been triggered on the outside. So anyway, I'm not here to teach in this question. I'm here to answer. So she was just using that as an example. Thank you, Lucy. And she says, it is not, okay, so she says it's not up to her or up to any other beings to choose the future for humanity. However, she's encouraging you on a path of exploration. And I love this practice. We came up on it a bit earlier, right, in today's video, which is whenever something comes up and you don't like something, you could see behaviors of perhaps a government agency, like doing some things you just, like, you find triggering and you find really upsetting. You don't want that to happen, and you feel very strongly against it. In those moments, you get to choose, what are you going to do about it, right? And the first thing is, like, observing your own emotions, right? Because this whole world transforms from within. So you're catching that emotion, you're catching the trigger, say, I see you. Whoa, you're raging. Rawr! Like, roar it out. And then say, right, I feel you. And then what lessons do you have here for me? And sometimes I imagine myself because you're invited to really open your heart to what will the new world that you co-create with all of us together. What is the new world that you co-create, that within which you will lead by example to create a world that does not have these same challenges? And one of those things I really feel into is sometimes I project maybe 10 years, 20 years in the future after ascension, right? And I say to myself, well, I would never want to go back to this same feeling, this low vibration. What will I have done by then? Me, Jon Binnie, have done in my life, and leading by example, not just teaching, right? Leading by example to make sure that never happens again. And so Lucy just says, this is an exploration. This is a journey, like going, we are a creative species, the human race, and we're amazing at our creativity. So we're being invited to explore new ways of doing things, new ways of having, money, governments, military, boundaries, sovereignty, trade. The list is endless of all these 3D constructs we have. We need a new way. And this time, it's not up to anyone else. And I love the question to ask our spirit guides and Galactic Federation for their suggestions. It is, they're very much saying, no, we're here to support you. We're not here to give you ideas. So we're the ones that have to come up with ideas, and that they will help offer us guidance once we do. which makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for your question. Okay, let's see if we can get at least one more question in. We've passed Christmas Day now, so we're on December 26th. Vanessa Crystal Light. Oh, I love your name. Thank you, Vanessa. How can we prepare our children and young teens for the upcoming Earth and physiological changes? Wow. Well, I can, as a parent of two teenagers, although one from they've almost left the teen years. I can definitely resonate with this and some of the challenges I was having yesterday. So let me go ahead and ask. Okay, this is my spirit guide, Maya. Thank you. She says, first of all, let the children know that they are loved. They're loved by you, parents, by you as adults, that you protect children and that you do your very best to support them, and also to accept the limitations of this third dimension constructs that they've been born into, and to be highly understanding and incredibly expansive in our awareness of knowing that what we've gone through in our lives as adults is there are many patterns of these traumas that exist in our children. And by this, I mean the trauma of the third, like living in the third dimension. It's traumatic. And to know that there's this feeling of like as adults, this feeling of somewhat of an apology to our younger generations about how the world has ended up, and to know that we're doing our very best as we become increasingly consciously aware of the real challenges, the fundamental challenges of what's broken about this world that we've created, that we're doing our best. And so one key theme my spirit guide Maya is talking about is schooling, for example, is incredibly limited and constrictive and programs and projects onto our children. And, one like simple step we can do with our children, for example, is to say, look, I accept that this is a very constrained series of programs you're being taught. And I want you to know that this is the start of you understanding what it's like to operate and to be successful, in quotes, in the eyes of the third dimension reality. And I'm here to support you as an adult, as a parent, beyond just those limitations. So, for example, and I say this to my kids, I say, I want you to be happy. I want you to follow your joy, and I'm here to help you find that and explore it with you. And I feel that whilst you can go through our schooling systems, it's just the start, and you've got your whole. I'm here to support you for the rest of your life on the journey beyond that as well. For example, if one of my children wanted to go into this line of work, I would be more than supportive of them, and I know they'd be both very talented at it. More talented than me. And the physiological changes, there's so all these things like, touching on truths such as, wow, there's, talking about how you're feeling, your energy levels, talking about the feelings of ascension waves and portals and ends of years and full moons and new moons and all these cycles and these natural cycles, talking to our children about how we feel through these natural cycles beyond, and many of them are beyond our modern scientific measures, and getting our children to talk more about it. Because the younger the child, the less constrained they've been by our different programs, and less fear they have about sharing some of these things. And also, you could just spend, a couple of hours on TikTok and realize that, a lot of the younger generations are a lot more open. Their language is really quite different to, what am I, a Gen Xer? A boomer? I don't know. It's like those feelings of younger generations really do feel more open, and so they're much more ready to begin to accept more of an expansive reality. So there's definitely an opportunity to talk more freely about truths. I talk to my kids all the time. Like if one of my kids has a headache, I'll say, I'll tell them whether I have had a headache recently. If they've had bad dreams, I'll tell them whether I've had bad dreams. And then we talk a bit about how it feels, and we share without putting, things into each other's mouths. And often it's, we'll talk about what we're eating, what we're watching on TV. and my wife's very kind of third dimensionally focused, and it's lovely, right? Because you get this lovely balance of like woo woo John, and then you get the more kind of grounded aspects of my wife's parenting as well. So yeah, really encouraging you to, you know, just as we would if we could, you know, teach our kids the full extent of reality in a way that we fully understand it. This is New Earth. Like, you get to choose New Earth. Here's all the physiological changes you go through, and that to a level that we're teaching at school, because that will happen in time. We're going through these bridging moments. So we're very much here to help bridge in these new generations. Okay. Now I do need to go very shortly. However, before I do, I got time for one more question, and this is from 27th of December. Ooh, sevens, loved sevens. Thank you, Cheryl. It says, do politics exist in any form on fifth dimensional Earth? Does war exist in any form? Do humans and all other forms of life on Gaia resolve conflict in the fifth dimension, or do we achieve perfect continuous harmony there? Wow, interesting. And it's really interesting, you know, one observation in the question, and I suspect I do this as well, is almost saying that, you know, sometimes when we talk about the fifth dimension, we talk about it being the future state. It does already exist. So I'll try and answer the question expansively without just kind of projecting into the future or asking a question limited to the future only. Okay. So my spirit guide Marita stepped forwards, and she says, and she's talking with Mother Gaia at the same time. So it's really from both of them. She says, and she's feeling this in my heart, the fifth dimension right now is pretty quiet. There's not many people, not many humans there. Fifth dimensional Earth is quiet. I know this when I visit there. Like, typically I often focus on visiting fifth dimensional Scotland, and when I go there, it's all incredible, right? It's a beautiful high vibration experience, which blows my mind. Yet the population is much smaller right now. The thing is, Scotland has areas of, you know, including the areas I like to go to, especially during the winter. There's like no one there. Like, you can see in a lot of my videos, like, there goes a person. You know, it's like, wow, I saw a person. Yeah, we've, over the 49 years, almost 49 years I've lived in Scotland, the population has been pretty static. And at points we've been losing people. So we're not losing people, but they've been the populations have been decreasing. Okay. And so so going on to the, does war exist in any form? No, and not yet. However, it is free will. Free will exists in the fifth dimension. So if we chose to go to war, we would. And I feel like it's a really interesting question, because war feels like a very low vibration frequency action. So how can that exist? How can that be supported in the fifth dimension? And Marita says, she says, the closest you get, so she says you're still able to have conflict. And she says, for example, in the fifth dimension, you still have boundaries, you have free will. And she says, for as long as free will exists, it is possible to have conflict. She says, it's just that war doesn't really exist in the same way. She says, at best, in mapping to kind of the use of 3D terms, is that there would be like battles, scuffles. She says, really what happens is when beings throw themselves into war in warlike states, that they drop out of the fifth dimension. It feels like you want to have a fight, you need to go outside. You need to go outside the bar. And in this case, you need to go outside the fifth dimension and drop into the third dimension to do it. Okay. How do humans and all other forms of life on Gaia resolve conflict in the fifth dimension? Let me ask this. Because our hearts, okay, so she says, because our hearts keep coming back to love, because our frequency is a love frequency. So we're spending a lot more time in our day to day in love. So she says you can dip very temporarily out into conflict, but you're constantly pulled up. You know that feeling in the third dimension where it feels kind of the other way around? It's like, oh, I feel so happy. And I'm like, oh, it's like, I don't feel that great anymore. What's happening with this world? She said it's kind of the opposite to that feeling. Well, it is the opposite to that feeling. Okay. So it feels like conflict. That feeling of love, right? When you just love each other. Imagine all of humanity finding out one day that we're all related, that we all share the same parents. I know not all families get on, right? I have first-hand experience of that in my extended families, but it's more like this feeling that we actually truly start to love each other like we do our partners, our loved ones. Imagine that feeling across all of humanity, and that's the unity feeling. Unity is not enforced. It is not a requirement of the fifth dimension. However, many beings choose to enter unity with each other in the fifth dimension. And that's what, so instead of us like warring with each other and fighting, instead of having to go outside of the bar and fight, right? We talk, we share how we feel, we talk about, the feelings inside of us and how other people's actions are affecting us, and we share those emotions with each other. And we can do this now in the third dimension, right? We don't have to wait to the fifth dimension. And I was going to ask about this final question about achieve perfect continuous harmony there. Yeah, and Marita and Mother Gaia is saying, no, it's not always continuous harmony. There are disagreements. It's just very different. She says it's so, that feeling of how you feel about the person or the being that you love the most in the world right now. She says that is actually a frequency below your frequency ranges that you can feel in the fifth dimension. So it's very hard to project, to try and bring in negative feelings into that. However, there is still, fifth dimension still has a frequency range. One of those areas we just touched on was the difference between third dimension, between fifth dimension kind of happiness and love, which is down towards the lower ends of the fifth dimensional frequency range. And then we also talked about unity. And so it's not perfect continuous harmony. What it is like leveling right up in your frequency range. So compared to how we feel in the third dimension, someone might ask you, how do you feel today, Cheryl? And you might say, I feel so joyful, right? And then they ask you the next day, how are you feeling in the fifth dimension? And you might say, I feel in unity with the entire universe, right? I feel the love of the universe. So they're both amazing states, right? And I don't know about you, in my life, I almost, sometimes like compress those emotions down because I'm not used to, I kind of flatten them off in my consciousness, because I just feel like they're up there. They're like up at the top of a mountain of joy and happiness and love and rainbows and unicorns. But actually, once you get up there to the top of the mountain, you realize actually there's a huge spectrum of those emotions, and that they just they don't stop. Yes, there's a limit in the fifth dimension, but from there on, you go up to sixth dimension and so on. So maybe looking upwards from the third dimension up to the fifth dimension, we might describe that as some kind of continuous harmony, is how we'd perceive it. But once you're actually in the fifth dimension, you would likely be able to more likely be able to feel the full frequency range of that. Wow, how exciting! Well, thank you for your questions. I'm down to 15 questions, so I'll keep going with those in our next sessions. Thank you for helping me catch up a little bit today with some more of your questions. If you like this format where I dedicate these videos just to questions, you like me sitting down at my computer and doing it in this format, do let me know. It's a lot of fun, and I must admit, when I'm doing channeling at the same time in these videos, and it's all unedited, right? I don't go off and take a coffee break and come back. That it's a lot to jump between in energy. But I'll continue to. I love asking and answering your questions through all the videos, the Psychic Tree Talks and the predictions videos. So thank you so much. So I'd like to thank our guides, our higher selves, Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, Source and Gaia, Sol and Luna, and every soul, including the Galactic Federation members that have assisted us today. And thank you to all of you for all your questions. Please step outside of the shared space and remain in your individual protective bubbles for as long as you choose as I close the shared space down to return to Source or never return here again. Please do drink as much water as it feels right for you, get plenty of rest, and check out links maybe down here about how to book a session with me. Here, subscribe, like, share, comment, hype. Maybe up here, my other predictions videos, and maybe over here, some other cool video. Thank you so much, everyone. Sending love, love, love.